here's the
Mm-hmm.
question: is Nikola Motors a scam?
I'm gonna say no. I would hope not. We haven't seen a car from them physically on the road in an
Will we
owner's
ever?
hands. Will we ever?
Will we ever?
I mean, they're really hyping it up. They have what, 7 different vehicles. I would hope that at least one of them would make it through. And what is it? The tray is being made like in collaboration with an existing company who already makes trucks, so they could pull Nikola into at least making the tray if they can't make the one to the Badger, the NXT, the Reckless, or the Wave. So I would I would hope that yes, they will have at least one car available, and they keep hyping up the Badger, which is being released at the end of, or is being unveiled at the end of this month. So I would hope, because they're talking a big talk, and so I would hope that they would.
Well, keep in mind the semis and the tray don't have deposits.
Correct.
They're $0 deposits. Meanwhile, the Badger, the Wave, and the other two recreational vehicles do have paid deposits, at least starting in the next couple weeks. So not necessarily like a scam per se, but we've seen this a lot. A lot of companies are just creating renders, over promising, and then never being able to actually deliver their product.
That is true.
It's like 80% of Kickstarters, except at a much larger scale now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just more worried about how broad their product line is. I mean, obviously parallels are going to be drawn to Tesla and how they started, and they focused in all of their efforts basically just to make the Model S. And even then, that took a lot of energy, and we're on the verge of bankruptcy, God knows how many times. And then Nikola's out here trying to make 7 different things at once, albeit the one and the two are basically the same thing, and just without a sleeper cabin and one thing, but they're still
I
distinct
mean,
models. So I don't know. I feel like this is definitely a scenario where they might be biting off more than they can chew, especially since they don't even have a factory that's completed. So they haven't even started like semi-mass production of anything. I mean, anything can happen, and I don't know what the success is going to be like.
would you give them your money?
Would I give them my money
Would you place a deposit
if I was a semi-truck driver, or I guess for the Badger?
for anything? If you liked the Badger, would you trust them enough today to give them
I
your
mean,
money?
is it refundable?
I believe
I
so,
I
but
trust the
is it
I
refundable when they file
I trust
bankruptcy?
them enough to refund my money.
Do you trust them enough to stay in business is the better question.
Mm.
Do you think them over-promising and spending these limited funds on these 7 different projects spread out, will they be able to deliver any of them?
Well, I mean, trucks are really like pickup trucks themselves, or as we see with the Rivian and the Cybertruck, are really hyped, and obviously there isn't anything catering to the electric pickup truck market at this point that's on the road. So I feel that if the Badger has enough hype and enough attention towards it, that it could tide them over enough that I wouldn't worry about them declaring any sort of bankruptcy or financial issues for the next year or two.
They do have a lot of money. I believe the CEO said they have about $750 million cash on hand. They got $250 million from, is it CNH, the company in
Mm-hmm.
Germany, where they're building the tray,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as far as we know, at least as far as I know. They bought the land in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
but they haven't done anything with it.
Correct.
It was supposed to begin construction this year, and we still haven't seen anything.
Yeah, well, with nationwide pandemics,
Like
I'm
just
sure.
a bunch of prototypes.
True. But,
We just see nothing but prototypes.
well,
I mean, look at how many prototypes we saw 5 years ago,
Mm.
3 years ago, 2 years ago. We had the Sono, Lucid Air, Atlas, Fisker. Fisker was supposed to come out with a car in 2019. Where is it? Bollinger. Where are all these companies? These are all companies that have taken deposits and haven't been able to output anything. And now you have Nikola asking for the same thing, except they're spreading out through 7 products, which gives them a less likelihood of success. It's not like they're Rivian; they're a brand new company. It's just I can't see it. Even if they do one day make it, their current $30 billion valuation is ridiculous. They won't get there soon.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. If we're talking about market caps, then yeah, Rivian definitely is. I mean, we know new technology hits on the block and electric cars and alternative fueled vehicles. Even though for us, we've been talking about it for years at this point, it's still in the grand scheme of things new technology that people are hopping on. And obviously, they see the price of something like Tesla, they want to get in as quickly as possible. As soon as they hear anything is dealing with hydrogen or electricity or wind power or whatever, just so they can maybe capture some gains. So
That's the thing. Even if electrification doesn't become 90 to 100% of the cars on the road, the market today, right now, is already significant. If someone just takes a small piece of the pie from Tesla, it's enough to keep them in business for a new company. Not to keep them in a $30 billion business, but it's enough. It's enough to keep them afloat for some of these smaller companies.
yeah. Well, I'm interested now that they're publicly traded. We can finally look at their finances in the coming quarters and see. I don't know where all this money is going for. What are they prioritizing in terms of research? I mean, they still have to build an entire hydrogen network to even support their hydrogen vehicles because as we've talked about so many times, there's essentially no hydrogen infrastructure in the United States unless you live in specific areas of California. So there's no nationwide use at this point for a hydrogen truck. And I don't even know how expensive it will be for Nikola to set up their 700 stations by 2028. I mean, what do you think? Is that feasible for them?
Um, so that's the thing. 2028 is a
It is a
while.
while.
Like they do have the
Mm-hmm.
time, and Nikola has not been understating their time. Most of these projects they're very far out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't expect to start producing until 2022, 2023. Anything basically,
Except the tray and maybe the Badger.
except the tray. So they have ample amount of time to do so. They probably have the money now as well, especially since they're publicly traded. It's a lot easier to get some money now that they've doubled their valuation overnight. So I see it as possible. It's not impossible. It's just a question of whether or not having 7 different products is going to hold them back, and if they have enough to actually achieve fuel cell vehicles at a more efficient rate than the standard gasoline or diesel truck.
Yeah.
Is the tech even worth it?
Well,
Because you know that if Nikola was just a regular truck company, they would not get this much attention. It is all because of hydrogen and electric vehicles, building this hype around them. Supposedly they're going to save money, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of dollars annually. The question is whether or not they can achieve it.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know. I feel like when anyone ever doubts a new company like this, everyone always points back to Tesla's beginnings and how, no one believed in electric cars back then. And they always try to draw these parallels to justify that the company can have success.
I agree.
But I can't, I mean, we've seen what Tesla does now. So I can't be the one that can say for sure, looking at Nikola, that they're not going to succeed in anything. I mean, I don't know. Crazier things have happened. I'm just more like we've talked about so many times already in this short conversation. I'm just still stuck on the fact that they're trying to spread themselves out so thin over so many products when I feel like they should at least focus on maybe the pickup truck and one of the semis, and everything else can come at a later date, so they can at least prove to the people that they can at least produce some sort of vehicles and there's appeal to them.
Yeah, but that's what throws a lot of people off, the fact that they are going through those different products all at once. It just sounds all Nigerian scamish.
I mean, a jet ski? I mean, I
It's
I
just
didn't even know.
every day a new render.
I didn't even know there was a jet ski. And like that's so niche compared to everything else that I don't even know why they would bother to do
They
it
are
right now.
just trying. They're just trying to grab attention. That's it. The CEO is just on Twitter shouting at the sky for likes and retweets. Everyone wants to be Elon Musk. That's what it
Oh,
comes down to.
Mr. Milton loves to talk the talk. Loves.
And you go back to the tech for a second. The hydrogen versus electric, like you could read every chart in the world. They're all going to tell you electric's better. Long term, maybe hydrogen can outperform efficiency wise with more advancement, sure. But today, I don't know. And they haven't even proven any hydrogen concept. They're making these renders and vehicles and prototypes with no specs, with no stats, with nothing backing the claim of the actual tech. Anyone can build a goddamn car.
Yeah. I don't.
But can you put a motor in it?
Yeah.
Supposedly now the current controversy with Bloomberg, where Nikola Trevor is now threatening to sue Bloomberg. In 2016, when they unveiled the Nikola 1, or was it Nikola 2? The 1, supposedly they unveiled a non-working vehicle without a fuel cell in it.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, he has admitted to the fact that there was no fuel cell in the vehicle. So what exactly did they unveil? Just another undrivable, even if it was drivable on diesel. That's not what people are there for. No one's investing in your trucks. They're investing in your tech.
Yeah. There's really just over the past 4 years since they unveiled it, there's been a lot of conflicting information about their plans for their semis. Because we recently wrote our article about it, and it was hard to find a lot of concrete information about the semis because you'll find that articles from the unveil state that the semi was supposed to have a range of like 1,000 miles or whatever. But now if you go on Nikola's site, they say that the Nikola 1 is supposed to have a range of only 500 to 750, which is, still, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty respectable compared to even diesel-powered semis, but it's much less than what was initially anticipated. And just in general, scrolling through all three of their offerings, they all have essentially the same specs, so it makes it seem like I'm not even looking at real specs at this point, because they're all almost exactly the same.
None of these vehicles, prototypes, whatever on their site have anything other than an image. All three of the semi-trucks have the exact same estimated specs. And you can't even call them estimated specs because they're just a handful of estimated specs. There's not even a full list. Is it running on hydrogen? Yes. That's it. That's the extent of it. They're not displaying any information. They're not proving any tech with it. They're building prototypes with no proof of actual concept. A shell is not a proof of concept. I want to see one of these cars go on a journey. Try to drive through California where there's the only how many hydrogen stations in the whole country.
There's something like that.
Show me an actual hydrogen-powered truck.
Well, it's really weird now in this stage because initially when we heard about Nikola, it was all about the semi-trucks and, specifically the Nikola 1 as hydrogen, hydrogen's fuel cell. But now...
Which was their first attention grab.
Yeah. But now, at least looking at it now, especially going on Twitter, reading through the CEO's Twitter account, it seems like almost like they're kind of backing away from the semi a bit and really pushing the pickup truck, which is half electric, supposedly half electric and half fuel cell. It's supposed to have 300 miles of range on the fuel cell and 300 miles of range on the electric side. So,
which needs to be pointed out. This was a last minute project. It has been admitted to being a last minute project. Nikola Trevor, which is his Twitter handle, I don't know his last name, Trevor from Nikola, Trevor Milton, stated that he only decided to build a truck after seeing how ugly the Tesla Cybertruck was, which is just recently unveiled. So this is not a concept since start. This is a brand new idea, and it's just an idea. Again, we only have a render.
Yeah, well, supposedly we're getting more information on the 29th, and I hope they'll do a better job with, giving enough specifications and information. I mean, I understand that semi trucks aren't for, me and you necessarily. The average person isn't buying a semi truck, so really giving.
But they're important.
Yes, but giving up-to-date stats on their front-facing website for regular people isn't, I guess, their priority. But obviously, a pickup truck, which is supposed to have mass market appeal and the average person should buy, I hope they'll do a better job with providing enough information about it that I don't have to scour through 4-year-old articles trying to figure out what the range is even supposed to be or the towing capacity of the thing. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know if they know what they're doing. I'm sure there's a big high going around in their HQ right now after, they went public and just completely shot through their stock price. So I'm sure they're all kind of euphoric at this point. And
do you think they're getting anywhere with this new hydrogen tech?
I mean,
do you think they've done anything?
Well, I mean, looking through their recent press releases, they did actually at the beginning of this month release a press release talking about how they ordered enough electrolysis equipment to actually make the hydrogen, enough that they can produce 40,000 kilograms of hydrogen every single day. And I mean, that was as recent as a couple weeks ago. So obviously hydrogen is still in their mind, and they're still, at least to us, saying that they are working on the fundamental infrastructure of providing enough hydrogen for their upcoming hydrogen cars. And thinking about it, now I'm more wondering, given a very superficial look at Trevor's personality, if they decided to go with hydrogen, not necessarily because they think it's the best, but because there really isn't enough competition in the hydrogen space that they can just by default be the leading hydrogen company if they can even succeed in making one hydrogen car that's popular.
I think it was all a ploy for attention.
Yeah?
You have a company named after the same company Tesla's named after, Nikola Tesla. You have the opposite of electrified tech, hydrogen tech, and competing with the Tesla Semi as well. I mean, it's just all seems like an attention grab. They even sued Tesla over their door, as if they thought they were going to actually win that.
And the windshield.
And the windshield.
And the cabin shape, apparently.
It just seems like every step this company takes is for attention. Just render after render to grab attention. Lawsuit after lawsuit, argument after argument. They just want to get their little spotlight to get people to notice them, and then hopefully they get enough investors, which they clearly have. So now it's the question of whether or not they can execute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not in. You said they're the only hydrogen company, sure, but it doesn't necessarily come down to the fuel source. Because if it is more efficient or a little bit less or a little bit more, it's going to compare with electrified vehicles versus diesel. And there is competitors in the semi field, Tesla, which is going to come out much sooner. They already have the infrastructure, and they're close up there with the same amount of range. So what makes hydrogen better than fully electric cars?
Well, at this point, the refueling time.
With no infrastructure.
With no infrastructure, you're correct.
With no
Any
infrastructure.
any advantage I could give you right now can all be completely
Is non-existent.
dismissed because there is essentially no place to put the charger. I mean,
Which was something Tesla faced
correct,
as well
right.
in their beginnings. There was nowhere to charge cars, so why would I buy a car I can't
exactly.
travel with?
So
The very first thing they had to do was build out infrastructure.
yes. At the very least, if anything, if Nikola can actually start producing their hydrogen fueling stations, I'll give them all the credit in the world for doing that because, I mean, I don't see anyone else doing it. Toyota makes their hydrogen fuel cell car, but I don't see them building any hydrogen stations, at least not in America. Honda doesn't do it. So, at the end of the day, having a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is more environmentally impactful and healthy than having a diesel truck. So if they can even get the smallest of percentage to switch away from gasoline cars into hydrogen cars because they made the infrastructure more readily available, then I consider that a win.
But this is years
Correct.
and years
yes,
away.
That's a big if.
The Tesla Semi will probably beat it by half
right.
the time. So by the time Nikola is even able to produce mass production on these semi trucks, is there even still going to be a market of people looking to cut down on emissions? Or is everyone already going to have made the orders for Tesla?
That's the question. I mean, I really doubt that 100% of the trucking industry will switch over in the next 3 years, obviously. But then again, you can say that the ones that haven't switched over by that point are the ones that are really stubborn and probably won't go with hydrogen either. And
I mean, Tesla can't have 100%
correct.
market share.
I mean,
I don't think diesel's going anywhere.
Plus, there are Volvo's making an electric semi, Freightliner's making an electric semi, so I'm sure there'll be other electric ones. It's just Nikola will, at this point, as far as I know, be the only hydrogen one. I think Toyota might have one. Really, like I said, the only advantages they have from a consumer standpoint, which I don't even know if they will continue to be advantages 3 years down the line with how battery tech is evolving, is the charging times, and the range is moderately better on a hydrogen fuel cell than a battery. So will those still hold to be advantages 3 years, 2 years, 4 years from now when the Nikola 1 and Nikola 2 is supposed to come? I don't know. It could.
It'll get close to it.
But,
You look at the last 3 years, look what Tesla had to offer 3 years ago. Probably increased range 50% on the Model S in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Using the same exact battery without increasing costs. That costs have gotten lower. So any advantage that hydrogen has, which again, the hydrogen Nikola tech is future-based. They don't have a car today and they won't have them for many years. All those numbers are on today's numbers. You're comparing it to the semi that will drastically improve throughout the years. By the time Nikola comes out, the semi might be neck and neck in range, in cost, and everything. Actually, I think the cost is already much lower than the Nikola.
We don't know the price. I can't find a price.
I have only estimated prices.
4 years ago.
Electric cars are here to stay, right? Would you agree? 100%.
Yeah.
They're here. We see it a lot. Tech as a whole, it just surrounds itself with hype.
Mm-hmm.
You look at CES, how many of those new age kitchen appliances have replaced a microwave in the last 10 years? None of them. Electric cars have replaced the microwave. They're here. It's an appliance we will use forever from here on out. So is Nikola just an air fryer? That's the real question. Will they might succeed. They might make this car. They might sell. Maybe they'll even do the 25 to 50,000 cars they want to do a year or have the capability of producing them. But will people want to buy them? Is that going to be the new standard? Or is it just going to be like when we had what was it, eco fuel a few years ago, a decade back,
Oh yeah,
when people were filling up their cars with fryer oil?
85. No, that
Is it just going to be? Is it just going to be another niche?
is it toaster tongs? I don't know. Uh I guess as a quick aside, uh, Tesla has a lot on their plate too. With all their new factories, the Cybertruck is coming up, and we've known that the Semi has been delayed for at least 2 years now because it was initially supposed to be 2018 or 2019 at the latest. So we're already at least 1 year delayed. So they keep trying to push it back, and understandably so. I feel like in the terms of the hierarchy of what takes precedence in terms of their projects, the Semi, to me at least, does not seem like it's too high up, given its low volume and whatnot. So the question is, I know that there was recently a leaked email from Elon saying that we need to bring it finally to volume production. But do you think it will? Do you think in the next year we will actually see the Semi, or do you think with the Cybertruck coming out, maybe even a possible Chinese car coming out, the factory being built in Berlin, the factory that needs to be built for the Cybertruck as a whole, Gigafactories expansions, do you think Tesla will actually, deliver the Semi in a timely manner, in a timely amount of volume, and with expectations met?
No, not at all. I think the releasing that email and making that statement was just pulling the whole "look at me"
Mm-hmm.
card once Nikola went public. If Nikola didn't go public and get all that attention, it would have still been on the back burner.
Hmm. So, so
I think the Semi is if I had to list priorities right now, obviously building the other factories that are currently under development is up there. They need a Cybertruck location, and then maybe consider the Semi, because Cybertruck is their next big money grab, their mass production
mm-hmm.
vehicle. Tesla Semi is probably a low margin vehicle. It's going to have either 500 to 1,000 kilowatt hour battery. That's expensive, especially for the low price they're offering it at. And it's low volume. I don't think it'll make anywhere near what the Cybertruck will, which would be their current priority, if you ask me.
Right. So let's hope that.
I think the Roadster will probably make more money long term than the Semi would. I never understood the unveil of the Semi.
I guess let's just hope that the Semi doesn't get delayed to the point where it's coming out at the same time the Nikola is. Then that just is all for naught at that point.
Thing to point out is that Tesla has done the same stuff Nikola has. They unveiled the Roadster. That car didn't have the specs that were mentioned. It didn't have a 200 kilowatt battery in there. They unveiled the Semi. None of these are things that we've seen anything of. We don't have any new specs on them either. They've just been announced with renders, and that's it. So Tesla does the same thing Nikola does, and people trust Tesla.
Well, yeah, because Tesla has built the cars, so
they've actually made a product.
they've earned at least that little bit of trust. Nikola starts putting out their first hydrogen, fueling stations, and I see, Nikola 1's on the road, Trey's 2's the Badger on the road. I'll be like, all right, okay, we're getting somewhere. But at this point, I'm going to stay cautious about it. I'm not going to say they're going to fail. I don't have 100% confidence in it, but I'm here. I'm watching. I'm silently, judging and processing, and we'll see from there.
Do you think they're worth 25, $30 billion today?
No.
with no revenue, no paid deposits, no product, no factory.
I'm not a financial expert. Wink, wink. So don't take. I'm not. No financial decisions based on me, but no, I do not think so. Especially since I personally don't believe that the hydrogen technology will be the majority in the future. So I can't even say that the market cap is justified because they're working on some sort of super duper um, technology that's going to be widespread in the future. So really, it's the only things to consider for me personally is just how many vehicles will they be able to make in the future and how many fueling stations they'll be able to make in the future. But I don't think their hydrogen tech will have wide-reaching, spread. Although I'm an idiot, so who knows?
Well, do you have anything else to say?
Um, Nikola, please update your site. I would really like to know more information about it. I hate that all of your trucks are apparently have the same exact specifications. Please change. I will be waiting with bated breath on the 29th to see what you have in the Badger. And, I'm ready to write the inevitable Badger versus Cybertruck article. Thank you.